Yeah, we're made to do it. God, it's one of the very first things God puts on display in all of Scripture. It says that the earth was void and without form, and darkness was everywhere. God speaks, and we know He brings forth creation, but He actually shifts the atmosphere from darkness and a void to light being released, kingdom order being established, creation being brought forth. And then He very clearly says in Genesis 1:26 through 28 that we're made in His image and after His likeness. And it's important to realize He says two distinct things. In His image can be translated as we're made not just to look like Him, but we're made to represent Him or to represent Him. He puts us in place over the creation He just brought forth as His dominion stewards. But then in His likeness is translated as manner and similitude. So He's saying, I'm bringing you forth to be in relationship with me, but in that relationship, you're here to steward this realm. And you'll do it as my representative in a similar manner to what I do, because you're made in my image and after my likeness. So He shifts atmospheres, we shift atmospheres. For New Testament, if you're thinking, it's Old Testament, what about New Testament? Jesus said it. Believe for this, pray for this, decree this. My Father who is in heaven, holy be thy name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. What is that? Shifting atmosphere. Jesus says, you'll heal the sick, you'll cleanse the lepers, you'll cast out demons. We're comfortable with that. That's shifting the atmosphere in someone's body from sickness to health, shifting the atmosphere in someone who's demon possessed from possessed to free. But we can do that with atmospheres in any realm we go into, from in a body to in our finances, to in our homes, our marriages, our cities, our nations, our regions. And God actually got a hold of me in this once on an airplane. I talk about how He gave me a revelation at 35,000 feet because I was flying home from a weekend of ministry, and we were seeing all this stuff happen for people and in their bodies. But we're flying home, and I'm really tired. And I had put in earbuds. Back then they were, had a cord on them, and it was in my iPod. And I'm listening to my iPod, and I really, really want to listen to worship music and take a nap. I'm just tired from pouring out all weekend. And all of a sudden, the pilot comes on and declares, we're about to hit severe turbulence. They were serving soda and water and all that. And they said, we've got to suspend that, and we're going to hit this severe turbulence. I'm not a nervous flyer, but I don't like severe turbulence, especially if I want to take a nap because you're getting all bounced around. So very quietly under my breath, listening to worship music, I said, Lord, I was really looking forward to taking a nap. Will you please do something about this? And immediately the Lord speaks to me and says, you do it. And as soon as He says that, He brings to mind the story of Jesus in the boat, speaking to the storm and commanding it to be still. And He reminds me of the promise of Jesus that I can do the works that Jesus did because He's gone to be with the Father. And now I live in Him and He lives in me. And I get this revelation from God. Well, whatever works at sea level is going to work at 35,000 feet at cruising altitude. And turbulence is just a storm of the air. So, I wasn't even like, Johnny super Christian filled with faith. I'm just getting this revelation from God going, all right, that makes sense. I'll try it. And I start to declare. I didn't like stand up in the plane and say, thus saith the Lord, turbulence, bow. But I thought, I understand the power of decree. I get that we can shift atmospheres. And I declare quietly, but I declare I take authority over the turbulence in the air. I take authority over the prince of the air, and I command this turbulence to bow. And Sean, no kidding, within like a minute, the pilot dings the bell and says you can return to the drink service and start giving out the sodas and water again. I'm not sure what happened, but we seem to have missed the turbulence, and it was smooth. And I thought that was easy. And I've done that on so many flights. And it was funny because I was traveling home with a guy I used to do a lot of ministry with. And he was like, what were you mumbling under your breath? And I told him the whole story. And it was funny. The next time we were flying, when we hit some turbulence, I look over at him and I can see him speaking under his breath, taking authority over it. And it worked for him. I mean, it's one of those things where we just step out in faith, but there's no atmosphere that can't be shifted. I've seen atmospheres of cities and nations shifted as I've walked with God and simply sought Him on, Lord, what's the strategy to shift the atmosphere of this nation? And I've got stories of where it's worked in cities, it's worked in nations. God knows how to shift atmospheres, and He uses us to do it. You can do it in your home, in your marriage, at your workplace, in your neighborhood, at 35,000 feet, at a city you've been called to serve, and see it happen immediately, like with the turbulence in a city in Eastern Europe I was called to serve in again and again and again for 6 years. It was a series of steps God gave me. But in the time I was there, I'll never forget the day I came out of an ice cream shop and the Lord stopped me and said, look around. And I looked at about a 180-degree turn downtown in this city, and I noticed it was completely changed. The atmosphere was changed. The expressions on people's faces was changed. Their postures had changed. God had shifted the atmosphere of this city and this region in the 6 years of leading me step by step. Now, many other ministries were called there, and there were wonderful churches there. It wasn't just me, but I had a role to play, and God led me step by step, and an entire city's atmosphere changed because of it.